I used to search for new Nibiru videos every week till I gave up. It was always the same old videos copied or renamed, or videos with misleading titles and photos offering no proof. Since videos on Nibiru are so disappointing, I decided to make my first documentary video. All you need to know about Nibiru in 10 minutes, 18 months ago. Actually, that is what started the channel you're watching now. Since I am not a scientist nor an alien, there is nothing my video can offer that you cannot find with a thorough web search. However, before my research, if you would have asked me then if I think there is really a planet X, I would have said no. But if you ask me now, my answer will be yes. I believe there is a Nibiru in our solar system. Let me show you why. Originally, I didn't see how a huge planet, 4 times the size of Jupiter, can exist in our solar system without us knowing. But that is before I learned about TNO. Before I did extensive research on ancient prophecies, which, believe it or not, collaborated somehow. Let me put it this way. You may not recognize Nibiru when it comes, and the visit may be different from what you expected. But believe me, there is a Nibiru out there in our solar system. For people who are new to this Planet X Nibiru theory, let me give you a quick tour. According to the ancient Sumerians, the 10th planet Nibiru is on a highly elliptic 3,600-year orbit. It is called the Destroyer Planet, as when it comes, it will bring destruction and possibly the Doomsday. Wait, if Doomsday comes every 3,600 years, how come we're still here? Think about it this way. Many comets pass by our sun regularly. How many of them hit planets? The last and only one I remember was the Shoemaker-Levy 9 hitting Jupiter in July 1994. So maybe Nibiru's last flyby was harmless last time. But we may not be likely so lucky next time? Before jumping to any conclusions we cannot sustain, let me bring you another popular Nibiru theory. The planet Nibiru of Nemesis. Nemesis is supposedly our sun's brown dwarf twin. The theory was first introduced in 1984, largely based on the Earth's mass extension 26 million years cycle. An evil twin 1.5 light years away, hidden beyond the Oort cloud, would be a perfect suspect. If Nibiru was a planet of Nemesis, it could explain how its occupants survived 3,600 years without a sun. Nemesis is Nibiru's travel companion and its portable generator. When the theory was introduced in 1984, it made great sense, and at that time, scientists believed that most stars are binary. Obviously, our sun should not be an exception. However, scientists have determined that mass extinction happens more like every 50 million years, and 2 mass astronomical surveys, which ran from 1997 to 2001, failed to detect any brown dwarf in our solar system. While in 2011, NASA's David Morrison, who specializes in near-Earth objects, concluded that even with infrared telescopes able to detect brown dwarfs as far away as 10 light years, failed to find Nemesis. It is most likely that Nemesis does not exist. Of course, that is if you believe in what NASA tells you. However, not finding any proof of Nibiru nor Nemesis does not mean they do not exist. Plus, how do you know if you were told the truth? What do you think the government should do if they think the world will end tomorrow? Obviously, telling you will not be on the top of the list. They will build a bunker and plan shelters for people that may survive the doomsday Earth. And to avoid chaos, it is wise not to share the doomsday news with anyone. Plus, who can know for certain what will happen, right? If you think the government will always do the right thing, let me tell you what Nostradamus thought about that. In Quatrain 227, quote, "The divine word will be struck from the sky, one who cannot proceed any further. The secret closed up with the revelation, such that they will march over and ahead." If you have any doubts about Nostradamus' prophecies, check out some of my Nostradamus videos. When I compared his quatrains with historical events, I was shocked to find the unbelievable details revealed. Check out any of my videos and you will be surprised. This quatrain is grouped with 20 other doomsday quatrains in the second part of the Book of Prophecy, which I call the Doomsday Century. This quatrain seems to indicate that our government would get warnings from the sky, which can be divine or from aliens. The message warns us, do not proceed. It is a secret that will be kept from most of us. But the warnings were probably ignored, as the last sentence stated, quote, such that they will march over and ahead. Whatever the secret may be, it will be ignored, and we, mankind, will eventually face the consequences. So if Nemesis does not exist and Nibiru is only a theory, why should we waste any more time talking about it? Actually, I think Nibiru does exist. It may be different from the mythical planet where Anunnaki reside, but it is there. Let me show you the proof about Nibiru's existence. Consider this. If you think the theory about Nibiru's 3,600-year orbit around the Sun is crazy, did you know Mars orbits the Sun every 687 days, but is already considered outside the Goldilocks zone that could harbor lives? What is the chance of life on Nibiru if Nibiru does exist? Plus, what is the chance of having a planet having a 3,600-year orbit? The good old days when textbooks told you everything you needed to know is long gone. Now the more we know we don't know. For example, when you search on the planet Eris, what you see is that it is called the most massive and second largest dwarf planet known in the solar system. The word known means that we really don't know what we're talking about. Pluto and Eris both are known dwarf planets, and Tino, the so-called trans-Neptunian objects, those are minor planets with highly elliptical orbits. And if you search Wikipedia for trans-Neptunian object, a session called Putative Trans-Neptunian Objects of Planetary Size will jump out at you. It states, the existence of trans-Neptunian rock ice bodies of planetary size, ranging from less than Earth mass up to a brown dwarf, has been often postulated for different theoretical reasons to explain several observed or speculated features of the Kuiper belt or the Oort cloud. It was recently proposed to use ranging data from the New Horizons spacecraft to constrain the position of such a hypothesized body. Putative means generally considered or reputed to be. Doesn't this sound like an endorsement from Wikipedia? I guess Nibiru is not all BS after all. Another reason I believe planet Nibiru is real is based on what scientists found in 2003. Sedna is a red dwarf planet 86 astronomical units away from the Sun, which is about 3 times as far as Neptune. Its discovery helped push poor Pluto off the planetary lineup. But what is important to know is its crazy orbit. Its aphelion, which is the closest distance from the Sun, is 76 AU, but its perihelion is 936 AU, and it takes 11,400 years to complete an orbit. During its 11,400-year journey around the Sun, we can only get a glance when it is near us. So, can you imagine how many more planets we have not seen? Can you imagine how big the others may be? Sedna's discovery proves Nibiru is not a myth. And then we found in 2014 FE72. It is another trans-Neptunian object, but this one has an orbit period of 90,000 years, with a perihelion of 36.3 AU and an aphelion of 4,000 AU. This really pushes our solar system's boundaries far beyond our imagination. Then the big question is, why would life choose to grow on a planet so far away from the Sun? Well, I guess we don't get to pick our birthplace, right? We have to adapt to our environment, correct? Plus, life may have started on a beautiful, friendly planet till the planet changed. For that, I will share with you another story we are all quite familiar with, the Shoemaker-Levy 9. Did you know before Shoemaker-Levy 9's impact with Jupiter, it was not orbiting the Sun? That is a fact few people know. The comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 was orbiting Jupiter before it got dangerously close and crashed. 2 years before impact, Shoemaker-Levy 9 was orbiting the Sun. A wrong place at the wrong time changed the comet's path and destiny. So, an advanced civilization may have been flourishing on Nibiru before the planet changed its course. Or maybe Nibiru was pulled away by another star. Maybe it is our Sun's binary twin. Its advanced technology made it possible to cope with whatever harsh environment, and its residents refused to leave home. Scientists feel the chance of our sun having a twin star is slim. But what gravity forces keep these minor planets circling our sun and something else on these elliptical orbits? There must be another massive body on the other end. Remember, we can only see them when they are close to us. Can you imagine how many more are out there that we have not seen? If the Earth has survived till today, why should we worry? Even if there are 1 million Nibirus out there, they probably won't come closer than Pluto, right? That may be right, but since we know so little, we have to rely on people who know more, and that is the problem. We have found so many new planets and new stars. Who will know what the next discovery may be? This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.
June 18th, 2016. Hi, folks. With all of the speculation and theorizing that have been happening for many years regarding the supposed existence of rogue planets that are believed to be orbiting in a retrograde movement within our solar system, I thought it would be appropriate at this time to provide you with a scientific case for the presence of a system of planets that are not actually part of our solar system, but which is a system of its own that makes a repeated and unwelcome appearance into our celestial neighborhood every few thousand years. In some of my previous videos, I have attempted to outline a hypothesis based on what is considered by the scientific community as factual evidence to explain why the Earth is suddenly experiencing such violent disruptions with regard to climate change, Earth changes, atmospheric disturbances, and weather-related disasters. I'm sure that most of you will agree that the Earth is experiencing changes that you would never have thought possible in your lifetime. However, we tend to differ in the interpretation of these events as to why they are happening on such a grand scale and what exactly is the cause of these great changes. So let's take a look at some things you may find both astonishing and disturbing at the same time that may very well explain why our solar system is out of sync and why the planets that comprise our solar system, including our own, are behaving in peculiar and unpredictable ways. Prior to the discovery of each new planet in our outer regions of the solar system came the detection of anomalies in the erratic motions of the outermost known planet. Pluto was discovered basically by chance by the self-taught astronomer Clyde Tombaugh in 1930. We used to call it a planet. However, it has recently been reclassified as the first discovered of a large number of bodies orbiting generally outside the planetary zone, in a region we call the Kuiper Belt. Pluto's properties are very different from the terrestrial and giant planets and appear to be representative of other Kuiper Belt objects. You may be surprised to know that it takes 248 years for Pluto to orbit the Sun because of its considerable distance from our star, and the fact that it also takes 8 hours for sunlight to reach the dwarf planet. But Pluto's orbit is peculiar in other ways as well. It is more inclined when compared to the rest of the solar system planets, which have orbits lying nearly in the same plane. Even before Neptune was discovered in 1846, astronomers had been theorizing as far back as 1781 that the irregular movement of Uranus was caused by the presence of another undiscovered planet. And as it turned out, that was the case when Neptune was first sighted and identified. The planet Pluto, now downgraded to dwarf status, and its later discovered moon, Charon, were then used to explain the observed wobbles in Uranus and Neptune's respective orbits. So what we can determine from what I have explained about these outer entities is that errors were originally made in calculating their precise position that later on resulted in the confirmation of cause as determined by these newly discovered planets. Okay, so that may sound a little complicated, but the bottom line here in helping us determine what is happening today in our solar system is that more likely than not, there are other larger planets as well as dwarf planets that are part of our solar system, or that periodically visit our solar system, that are presently out there waiting to be found, as well as existing anomalies that are waiting to be explained. In 1940, Chilean astronomer Carlos Muñoz Ferrada, who is considered by many as one of the most brilliant astronomers in the world, accurately predicted that the elite would attempt to cover up Planet X as it heads towards the Earth. Ferrada referred to Nibiru Planet X as a comet planet because it has the size of a planet but speed and elliptical orbit of a comet. So here then is what Carlos Ferrada was telling us.
Algo muy interesante es que usted hizo un estudio y trazó con cálculos y con todo la órbita de este cometa planeta. Porque usted nos habla y nos dice que es cometa planeta porque su movimiento no es algo normal.
No.
Que tiene unas velocidades.
Es un cometa planeta porque tiene órbita elíptica como cometa y porque tiene gran masa
Como planeta.
como planeta. Yo lo llamo entonces planeta cometa. O sea, un planeta con cola. El gran campo gravitacional que trae ese astro nuevo, que hace 13.000 años que no penetraba y que 13.000 años atrás fue los tiempos de la Atlántida perdida, tiene resonancia y efectos que a los reflejos, que a la debilidad. Queda el gran cambio.
Ese gran cambio, el cual usted viene estudiando desde 1940, ¿verdad? Que viene estudiando ese astro. Van 59 años de documentación. Ese gran cambio es humano, además es a la Tierra, porque indica un cambio de polos.
Es geofísico y humano.
Geofísico y humano. Y se habla de que va a haber un cambio de los polos magnéticos de la Tierra.
Son tantas las cosas que lamentable la humanidad no está preparada. El cambio viene. La destrucción viene. Y, más que nada, afectará a la humanidad en su existencia, en su producción, en su subsistencia misma.
The most controversial, supposedly undiscovered planet within our solar system, dubbed Nibiru, or Planet X, became well known in 1976 by noted researcher Zecharia Sitchin in his best-selling book, The 12th Planet. As one of few scholars able to read and interpret Sumerian clay tablets, Sitchin utilized those ancient texts to make a highly plausible case for the existence of Planet X, known as the Destroyer in ancient scripts, which comes close to planet Earth every 3,600 years. The Sumerians lived over 6,000 years ago in what is today Iraq. They are credited as the first known civilization on Earth, inventing mathematics, astronomy, and astrology. The Sun in our solar system is similar to 90% of the solar systems in the Milky Way galaxy, all part of a binary star system containing two or more suns. The Planet X system can be considered a mini-constellation consisting of our Sun's twin, classified a brown dwarf star called Nemesis. This dark star is largely invisible, even with infrared, due to its surrounding red iron oxide dust clouds. Nemesis possesses at least 3 planets that revolve around it: Nibiru and Helion, both with moons, and Arbota. Though Nibiru travels along an elliptical-shaped orbit and enters our solar system approximately every 3,600 years, one by one crossing the orbits of our solar system planets, it does not revolve around our Sun. In one of our previous videos, The Truth About Planet X, Connecting the Dots, I provided a 1990 video clip in which Zecharia Sitchin interviewed the supervising astronomer of the U.S. Naval Observatory, Robert S. Harrington, to discuss Harrington's recent discovery of the red planet X. Harrington set up a special telescopic observatory in New Zealand to track Planet X. But the renowned head of the observatory suddenly died mysteriously at age 50 of a rare form of cancer under suspicious circumstances. Even so, 2 years after the Sitchin-Harrington interview, and just months prior to Harrington's 1993 death, a NASA press release was still publicly embracing Nibiru Planet X as being real. Unexplained deviations in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune point to a large outer solar system body of 4 to 8 Earth masses on a highly tilted orbit beyond 7 billion miles from the Sun. Also in 1992, a confident NASA scientist named Ray T. Reynolds went on record proclaiming, "Astronomers are so sure of the 10th planet, they think there is nothing left but to name it." But ever since Harrington's untimely death, with few exceptions, the lid has been tightly sealed on any more accurate information released by mainstream sources directly to the public. Apparently, the U.S. government had made the decision to keep Nibiru and its projected earthly destruction under wraps. In recent years, the feds have sent out trolls to disseminate disinformation and false propaganda in attempts to debunk any would-be truth-tellers. The elite ensure that hired shills are planted to busily churn out concentrated disinfo campaigns, smearing lies to prevent the story that never quite goes away from ever having full disclosure. False flag predictions of past non-event disasters are most common, like last year's predicted May 28th San Andreas earthquake, deliberately timed with the opening of the film of the same name, or the 2012 Mayan calendar doomsday non-event, or the May 5th 2000 ice age that never came. And who can forget the Y2K fiasco? And so it goes. The more of these end days predictions that are proven to be false, the more chance that any legitimate warnings of Planet X will be ultimately ridiculed and ignored. The boy who cried wolf syndrome effectively desensitizes the human population into doubting any actual evidence or truth about Nibiru, and so it will never be taken seriously by any reasonably sane person, notwithstanding the aluminum foil hat crowd of conspiracy realists who are more often right than wrong these days when it comes to exposing the myriad of government cover-ups, false flags, and lies. The effects of such a large celestial body as Nibiru, Planet X, estimated to be from 4 to 8 times the size of the Earth, re-entering our solar system, has generated an off-the-chart internet frenzy on social media sites in recent times, convinced it will cause enormous amounts of huge-sized space debris from an asteroid belt, potential comets, one recently cited to be 2.5 miles wide, and countless meteors plummeting violently to the Earth. It's believed that the impact of such giant objects crashing into the Earth will push the reset button for another axis tilt, likely causing yet another mass extinction and radically altering global climate zones, raising sea levels dramatically to reshape coastlines worldwide, decreasing landmass and increasing oceanic water surface. In addition to tilting the Earth's axis, it's speculated that Nibiru's gravitational upset and electromagnetic fireworks on our planet will set off mammoth cracks in the tectonic plates, resulting in never-before-seen killer quakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, tidal waves, hurricanes, record winds, massive flooding, and tornadoes. Rather than delving into the mythology and the prophecy surrounding Planet X, this presentation will limit its focus to reviewing the most tangible, credible pieces of scientific evidence supported by astronomers and astrophysicists who in recent years have risked destroying their careers, their reputations, and their very lives promoting their controversial findings and conclusions. This year, more than ever, the movement's growing authenticity of the Planet X story is in fact gathering momentum and garnering support from some rather high-profile notables within the scientific community. This presentation will chronicle the growing body of empirical evidence validating not only Planet X's existence, but its eminent approach towards Earth. The highly controversial Planet X system entering our solar system with potential catastrophic implications was first featured in a Washington Post article back in 1983. NASA's Infrared Astronomical Telescope found the mysterious planet, possibly as large as Jupiter, near the constellation of Orion. Now, some 33 years ago, it was considered to be the closest heavenly body to the Earth beyond Pluto. Researcher-activist John MORE has long asserted that a number of his inside ex-military and government intelligence sources have independently confirmed that a top-secret meeting took place in 1979 in a New Orleans briefing room, where highest-ranking U.S. naval flag officers were first informed of the coming inevitable Planet X disaster that would occur within their lifetime. In October 2003, a highly significant and telling Department of Defense-sponsored government paper was published called An Abrupt Climate Change Scenario and Its Implications for United States National Security. This paper notes that oceanic saline levels were dropping, causing thermohaline circulation collapse. A serious disruption of the Atlantic conveyor belt that pushes warm salt water near the surface circulating northward from the south, while deeper, cooler water flows southward, would have a devastating impact on global climate. The paper concludes with the following sobering predictions: wars over energy, food and water resources, increasing drought over wider landmass, and violent climate change effects producing more frequent, higher magnitude natural catastrophes of all kinds. A dozen years later, all of these most disturbing developments are clearly manifesting. Of course, the current standard politically correct scientific dogma is that global warming, aka climate change, emanating from CO2 greenhouse gases, is the obvious culprit. This mass deception is designed to conveniently obscure the multiple dire effects caused by many decades of the globalists' geoengineering, HAARP, weather modification, and weather wars, not to mention the hidden, non-existent Planet X system hurtling towards us deeper inside our solar system that's likely causing tremendous changes at the surface of all our solar system planets, of course including our own Earth's atmosphere and global surface. In March 2010, the mainstream UK newspaper, The Telegraph, ran a story entitled "Search On for Death Star That Throws Out Deadly Comets." The subheadline announced that NASA is looking for the twin sun, that's the brown dwarf star Nemesis, slowly circling our sun and periodically catapulting deadly comets to the Earth. So as quiet as NASA has been over the years, little bits of information reflecting the notion that they are still searching for the cataclysmic Planet X system manages to seep through to the public every now and then from so-called reputable news sources. The article goes on to state that the star that's 5 times the size of Jupiter is the prime suspect that wiped out the dinosaur 65 million years ago, as the following video suggests.
Earth is believed to have undergone 5 official mass extinctions thus far, and one retired astrophysics professor thinks he knows what could have caused them. In a recently published study, Daniel Whitmire argues that presently undiscovered Planet X is responsible for an onslaught of comets colliding into Earth every 27 million years or so, and destroying life, including the dinosaurs. In 1985, Whitmire released his first paper on this ninth planet, which theoretically exists along the outer bounds of our solar system. He and his co-author, John Matisse, reasoned that the orbit of Planet X takes it through the Kuiper Belt in 27 million year intervals, and objects get pushed to the inner solar system as a result. In his current research, Whitmire links these events with mass extinctions on Earth based on updated records of comet showers over the past 500 million years. Despite his argument, a Discovery News article on this topic expresses some skepticism. The writer Ian O'Neill wonders, for instance, if these bombardment events are necessarily caused by Planet X rather than other forces.
The NASA Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer was capable of detecting the faint heat emanating from the dwarf star 25 times the distance between Earth and the Sun, or 1/3 a light year away. Launched in January 2009, WISE discovered at least 1,000 dwarf stars located within 25 light years from the Sun until October of 2010, when its coolant was scheduled to run out. With the Planet X system entering our solar system, its gravitational force is believed to launch trajectories of comets and asteroids that are large-sized space debris objects of icy rocks and dust that bombard our solar system planets, including the Earth. Professor John Matisse of the University of Louisiana Lafayette believes that the nemesis that includes planet Nibiru as part of the Planet X system is mainly responsible for supplying such a concentrated volley of comets from the Oort cloud into our inner solar system. In May 2012, LiveScience.com and Examiner.com, shown in this video slideshow, both featured headline stories heralding the probable discovery of Planet X. Astronomer Rodney Gomez of Rio's National Observatory of Brazil had just presented new evidence of the mysterious planet at a meeting of the American Astronomical Society. Gomez demonstrated that icy objects outside Neptune's orbit in the Oort cloud displaying irregular movement that cannot be explained by known mathematical laws of astrophysics, but can be explained by the gravitational influence of so-called Planet X. In addition, the dwarf planet Sedna's peculiar orbit can also only be accounted for by the presence of a large unknown planet. Gomez's findings were very well received by his peers, believing that he got his math correct. But of course, not wanting to endorse Planet X completely, they quelled their enthusiasm with a call for more research and posing alternative theories that may not involve another large planet. In November of 2014, IFLScience.com reported evidence that 2 new undiscovered planets may be lurking in our solar system. A January 2015 article from Space.com also addressed the possibility of 2 more planets beyond Neptune and Pluto moving in the outer limits of our solar system and subtly influencing the orbits of the dwarf planets. Carlos de la Fuente of Madrid's University of Complutense stated, "This excess of objects with unexpected orbital parameters would have us believe that some invisible forces are altering the distribution of the orbital elements of the extreme trans-Neptunian objects. And we consider that the most probable explanation is that other unknown planets exist beyond Neptune and Pluto." In March 2014, another team of astronomers, Chadwick Trujillo and Scott Shepard, announced the discovery of 2012 VP113, another ET-NO joining Sedna as 2 known members of the inner Oort cloud, which is the comet-filled sphere that lies just beyond the Kuiper Belt and Pluto. Trujillo and Shepard claim these 2 objects' orbits comply with the gravitational presence of a big disturber, which is up to 10 times the mass of the Earth. Major unheard-of changes are currently appearing on the surface and atmosphere of the Sun and all the planets. Astronomer Mike Lockwood from California's Rutherford Appleton National Laboratories found that since 1901, the Sun's overall magnetic field has increased by 230%, solar flares and storms have also increased. The Earth's moon now has a 6,000-kilometer deep atmosphere of natrium that it never had before. Mercury, the planet closest to the Sun, now has grown polar ice. Venus's brightness has skyrocketed by 2,500% and experienced major changes in its atmosphere in the last 4 decades. Meanwhile, further away from the Sun than the Earth, Mars has melted polar ice caps, and its magnitude of storms has strengthened exponentially. Jupiter has had the brightness of his plasma clouds increase 200%, accompanied by a pattern of intermittent thickening, then weakening. The largest planet in our solar system's enormous belts have been changing color with radiation levels erratically waning and then flaring up again. An increase in asteroid and comet activity on Jupiter is likely from Nibiru's entrance into our solar system. During the last 3 decades, the jet stream on Saturn's equator has slowed in velocity, while X-rays at the equator have spiked. Uranus has become brighter with a huge flare-up of storm activity, when its surface before was always placid. Neptune has also increased in brightness by 40%. The atmospheric pressure on Pluto has jumped up by 300% despite it moving further from the Sun. The glowing plasma on the edge of our solar system has increased 1,000%. The profound changes being measured in space are unprecedented. An increase in energy emissions is changing the fundamental structure of all matter throughout our solar system. Taken together, these massive across-the-board changes most likely are all the result of Planet X moving through our solar system. Changes on the Earth have been pronounced as well, most notably with electromagnetic changes, yearly incremental polar axis changes, and extreme weather changes. As an example, North Pole, Alaska recently saw its late spring temperatures soar to a high of 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Between 1963 and 2009, the frequency of natural disasters globally has leaped up by 410%. And in more recent years, the rate of disasters has soared even higher. With an increasing number of volcanic eruptions along the Pacific Ring of Fire, and earthquakes felt globally, particularly along the San Andreas and the New Madrid fault lines, major volcanic and earthquake activity is rapidly on the rise. As early as November 2013, 10 different long-dormant volcanoes went active, first suggesting Planet X's presence. The rate of volcanic eruptions between 1875 and 2010 has increased nearly 500%, but even greater now. A substantial increase in 3.0 or higher earthquakes are shaking America's heartland due to fracking. In Oklahoma alone, going from 2 or 3 a year prior to fracking to 562 last year alone. Since 1973, earthquakes have risen worldwide by 400%. 6.0 magnitude earthquakes or greater has also spiked in recent years, jumping on average from 108.5 earthquakes per year in the 1980 to 89 decade to 160.9 earthquakes per year from 2000 to 2009, increasing by 38.9%. In the first quarter of 2014 alone, more than twice as many large earthquakes occurred than on average since 1979. Last year, scientists at the European Science Foundation warned that in the years to come, there is a 5 to 10% chance that a colossal-sized volcano could send the Earth back to pre-civilization status. A significant rise in landslides and floods have also been measured. For the last 2,000 years, the Earth's magnetic field has been decreasing gradually. But in the last 500 years, that decrease has become much more dramatic. Scientists have been shocked at the alarming rate that the Earth's magnetosphere has been disappearing. The planet's natural shield preventing solar winds and radiation from reaching the Earth's surface is being lost. This disturbing discovery comes while solar storm activity continues. These solar blasts seriously threaten to interfere with satellite and GPS communications, and risk bursts of electromagnetic pulses, if not launched by EMP weapons in the wrong hands like ICES, that could be lethal to America's power grid, quickly placing millions of people in the dark without any source of electricity for months or even years at a time. Effects from a diminishing magnetic field would double the amount of radiation, causing an epidemic of skin cancer deaths, speed up climate change, and magnify extreme weather. Solar winds would eliminate ions that allow the Earth to retain water and air. All these horrific changes are happening right now. This torrid rate of ecological degradation and life-threatening Earth surface changes are more than likely caused by Planet X racing ever closer toward us. Another rather peculiar development to the Planet X story has been Google Sky's strange actions. Several years ago, no doubt in keeping with the media blackout, Google actually did black out the grid in the sky to ensure that Planet X was eliminated from its sky map. Then about a year ago, Google Sky mysteriously reinserted the missing grid, fully depicting the flaming winged Nibiru. So it has now been visible from both the actual sky and the Google Sky this year. More evidence that the tide is turning toward the truth about Planet X. Just last month, the European Space Agency invited scientists from around the world to a conference in Prague to discuss the topic of an Earth observation strategy and its relevance to societal and economic changes that will occur. Of special interest in this particular symposium is that hazards to the Earth was the key theme of this meeting. In other words, drastic changes to the planet in the way of earthquakes, volcanoes, and floods, but also significant changes to the atmosphere, the cryosphere, and to the oceans. Does this symposium sound familiar to the Nibiru cataclysm scenario, minus the forbidden planet, of course? So now you have been provided with but a few of the more relevant scientific findings, which establish an acceptable hypothesis for the existence of a rogue system of planets, a mini constellation with its own star, a binary companion to our own sun, now hurtling through space within the confines of our solar system. Of course, you can easily dismiss these findings as nothing more than pseudoscience, if that is your belief. But if you take the time to examine the evidence that is provided, you will come to a clearer understanding of the changes that are happening to our planet, why they are happening so quickly and in such great numbers, and what is the mechanism by which these events are taking place within our solar system and here on planet Earth. The changes that are suddenly occurring on the planet may seem extraordinary to some of you, but the events that are unfolding today are the same events that happened thousands of years ago to ancient civilizations, as the destroyer of generations makes its presence known. Of January 2017. Have you taken notice to the many changes now happening on Earth? The sheer numbers of individuals who are beginning to pay attention is encouraging, and although the interpretation of events may vary, it provides an avenue for a constructive discussion among those who frequent the Skywatch Media channel and our social media sites. The events happening at this time provide a universal awakening to those who have sat idly by, refusing to acknowledge what their own eyes have shown them. It is the beginning of a great transformation, the same transformation spoken of by ancient civilizations in their text and in their inscriptions portraying the events of their time. If you remember, I indicated that the best way to determine if something is approaching us is to carefully observe the changes in the weather, the intensity and frequency of seismic activity, and the severity of volcanic eruptions. All of these are signs given to us that provide insight into what is happening to our planet, and they can also signify what is likely happening to the other planets within our solar system. These are the signs that will usher in the beginning of the period of tribulation. 2017 has so far proven to be a year that will dramatically change our concept of life and the frailty of human existence on the planet that we call home. The climate is changing in ways that even scientists do not fully understand. If you look at what is happening with the weather in various parts of the world, it certainly looks awe-inspiring at first sight, but its implications are very disturbing. These unprecedented weather events indicate that something yet unexplained is happening in our atmosphere and with our jet stream. The constant unpredictability of our weather patterns would suggest that the Earth's axis is shifting in such a way that we may soon encounter a magnetic pole shift, which scientists admit is a very real probability. But it appears that there is much more to this story than what is being told. There are indications that the Earth's crust is also slipping, with dramatic changes occurring to the ice shelf on the Antarctic continent. On January 22nd, a massive earthquake shook near New Guinea, with preliminary measurements of 8.4 by the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, which were later downgraded by the USGS to 8.0. An earthquake of this intensity should warrant major media headlines, but like other recent events of this nature, very little significant information has been forthcoming from the major news outlets. And so the public remains in the dark by those who control mainstream media. If someone proclaims that they saw something very strange in the sky, then it makes no sense to tell them there is nothing to see or that it doesn't exist. This is a tactical maneuver to keep the public from learning the truth. It's called the power of persuasion. So when you are told by skeptics that your image or your video is ludicrous or fabricated, remember the simple rules of observation. Not all eyewitness sightings are mere apparitions or an imaginary presence, and not all photographs or video footage is merely showing a reflection, a lens flare, or a false impression. There are many mysteries on this planet and across our universe that cannot be explained in scientific terms because they defy the explanation of science. Even the power of persuasion cannot outmaneuver the power that has been manifest in the heavens. It's a power that is being felt across the planet, as evident by the disturbing events that are taking place worldwide. The visibility of Nibiru and the Nemesis binary system has increased dramatically just in the past few years. It has increased in size, which indicates it is getting closer, and it is now changing the dynamics of our atmosphere and has altered the magnetic field that surrounds our planet. I posted a video on our Facebook page that was taken on January 20th from Houston, Texas. It shows a mass flock of birds in frantic disarray on a freeway, confused and bewildered, as if they had lost their sense of direction. Now, logic would tell you that if there is a problem with our magnetic field, then this would affect the flight patterns of birds. It's also true that animals and birds have an acute instinct that tells them that something significant is on the verge of happening, thus causing them to react in strange ways, similar to what was witnessed on this Houston freeway. As you can imagine, the gravitational effects of a sizable planet moving closer to the inner solar system would spell big trouble for planet Earth. we are now witnessing the effects of the great Earth and climate changes that are reshaping this planet, as the magnetic core heats up and the Earth's orbit slows down, thus creating a blending of our seasons. As you continue to discover the wonders and mysteries that are there for you to see, keep in mind that it is NASA themselves who have continuously discovered something new in the universe that was previously unthinkable. It was just recently that they found a binary solar system. It is this discovery that could very well explain the Earth's wobble, which is still a scientific mystery waiting to be resolved. We also know that astronomers say a Neptune-sized planet lurks beyond Pluto. Therefore, we should keep an eye out for a blue star that will appear in the sky. As it turns out, a number of skywatchers have already seen this star and have recorded its presence. Consider this. 7,200 years ago, during the cataclysm known as Noah's Flood, sudden changes in temperature, violent storms, and water avalanches from Antarctica broke off from their ice prison. Dr. John T. Holen at Maine University considers that large pieces periodically came out of the Antarctic ice field, creating a huge tide. Does the sudden collapse of the Antarctic ice sheet, which is showing signs of happening at this time, give credence to this educator's hypothesis? 3,600 years ago, during the Jews' exodus from Egypt in the middle of the second millennium BC, the Earth suffered big cataclysms. According to Immanuel Velikovsky's Worlds in Collision, a celestial body that recently entered our solar system, a new comet, came very close to Earth, causing the eventual disappearance of the glacier layer. Our years of research and observation indicates that something is in the process of changing the very makeup of our solar system and affecting the orbit of the planets, which in turn is creating havoc with the magnetic core of the Earth, thus creating atmospheric changes, which lead to more earthquakes, more volcanic eruptions, and more extreme weather events. The effects of its passover will be long-lasting and will change the very fabric of our civilization going forward. This is the long-term analysis of what can be expected to occur as the binary star system continues its extended journey across our solar system. There is also the concern of what can happen in the short term as the Nibiru Nemesis debris field expands, carrying with it enormous asteroids and comet fragments that have the potential to be catastrophic if they impact the Earth. Our planet recently felt the impact of such an event in early 2013, when a large incoming rock detonated in the skies over Russia, causing significant injuries and property damage, as this video would indicate. In the waning days of President Obama's administration, the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy released a National Near-Earth Object Preparedness Strategy. The strategy outlines major goals a country will have to take to prepare to meet the NEO threat. Most of us remember movies such as Deep Impact and Armageddon. They attempted to depict what such a crisis would look like. But until fairly recently, the U.S. government never seemed to take this kind of threat very seriously. So what has changed? It appears that the government has taken a series of measures over the past couple of years to help prepare us for incoming meteors and asteroids. In 2016, they founded a Planetary Defense Coordination Office to detect potentially destructive NEOs. Immediately thereafter, they coordinated with FEMA to begin preparedness drills for such an event. In addition, they launched spacecraft to gather asteroid information. In the typical response to the announcement of a new asteroid agency, NASA insists there is no imminent danger to our planet. But if we are to believe their analysis of the dangers that we face, then why spend so much time and resources on a non-existent crisis? I have listed here the 7-point plan that has been implemented in our defense of potential NEOs. There was also a link provided that had outlined the 25-page document recently released by the White House, which I've shown here. But unfortunately, that web page has apparently been removed and is no longer available. We do know, however, that the document was put together by the Interagency Working Group for detecting and mitigating the impact of Earth-bound near-Earth objects. Just recently, a very large asteroid barely missed us, and we had only discovered it 2 days earlier. Early in the morning, while most of us were preparing our day's activities, a space rock as big as a 10-story building slipped past Earth. The asteroid, dubbed 2017 AG-13, was discovered only 2 days earlier by the University of Arizona's Catalina Sky Survey. This according to an email from SLU, a company that broadcasts live views of space. We were very fortunate this time, but the truth is that our planet is now crossing paths with other giant space rocks on a frequent basis. In fact, a near-Earth object that is being called a cross between an asteroid and a comet will come fairly close to our planet in February. The latter object, dubbed the 2016 WF9, was detected by NASA in late November of 2016 and has left scientists scratching their heads. They have described the celestial rock as a cross between an asteroid and a comet. It's in the middle of its 4.9-year orbit between Jupiter and Earth and will approach us on February 25th, flying by at a distance of 32 million miles from our planet, this according to NASA. Here is the stumbling block when it comes to believing and accepting what we are being told by space professionals. It is a flip of the coin on who is telling the truth. Many space scientists assure us that a large meteor or asteroid will at some point in time impact the Earth. It cannot be avoided. Contrary to their statements, NASA assures us that there is nothing to worry about. But apparently their statements lack reassurance, as others are concerned that something may be coming toward us or that we are moving toward something. Their concerns are well noted. If we accept our instincts and observations of a sky that appears to be folding, bringing the planets and the constellations of our solar system ever closer to one another, this is a troubling concept of reality, but it now appears to be happening. What we must remember if we truly desire to grasp what is happening is that we are a mere speck of dirt moving at incredible speed through a massive galaxy of time and space, which further extends into an endless and ever-changing universe. The world was created for our benefit as a place of protection by a higher entity. But we were given the responsibility of being good stewards of the earth. But in our quest for riches and material well-being, we have failed in that mission. And like everything in life, there are consequences for our actions and
to the doomsday. But I do want to know what's coming. I used to search for new Nibiru videos every week till I gave up. It was always the same old videos copied or renamed, or videos with misleading titles and photos offering no proof. Since videos on Nibiru are so disappointing, I decided to make my first documentary video. All you need to know about Nibiru in 10 minutes, 18 months ago. Actually, that is what started the channel you're watching now. Since I am not a scientist nor an alien, there is nothing my video can offer that you cannot find with a thorough web search. However, before my research, if you would have asked me then if I think there is really a planet X, I would have said no. But if you ask me now, my answer will be yes. I believe there is a Nibiru in our solar system. Let me show you why. Originally, I didn't see how a huge planet, 4 times the size of Jupiter, can exist in our solar system without us knowing. But that is before I learned about TNO. Before I did extensive research on ancient prophecies, which, believe it or not, collaborated somehow. Let me put it this way. You may not recognize Nibiru when it comes, and the visit may be different from what you expected. But believe me, there is a Nibiru out there in our solar system. For people who are new to this Planet X Nibiru theory, let me give you a quick tour. According to the ancient Sumerians, the 10th planet Nibiru is on a highly elliptic 3,600-year orbit, It is called the destroyer planet, as when it comes, it will bring destruction and possibly the doomsday. Wait, if doomsday comes every 3,600 years, how come we're still here? Think about it this way. Many comets pass by our sun regularly. How many of them hit planets? The last and only one I remember was the Shoemaker-Levy 9 hitting Jupiter in July 1994. So maybe Nibiru's last flyby was harmless last time. But we may not be likely so lucky next time? Before jumping to any conclusions we cannot sustain, let me bring you another popular Nibiru theory. The planet Nibiru of Nemesis. Nemesis is supposedly our sun's brown dwarf twin. The theory was first introduced in 1984, largely based on the Earth's mass extension 26 million year cycle. An evil twin 1.5 light years away, hidden beyond the Oort cloud, would be a perfect suspect. If Nibiru was a planet of Nemesis, it could explain how its occupants survived 3,600 years without a sun. Nemesis is Nibiru's travel companion and its portable generator. When the theory was introduced in 1984, it made great sense, and at that time, scientists believed that most stars are binary. Obviously, our sun should not be an exception. However, scientists have determined that mass extinction happens more like every 50 million years, and two mass astronomical surveys, which ran from 1997 to 2001, failed to detect any brown dwarf in our solar system. While in 2011, NASA's David Morrison, who specializes in near-Earth objects, concluded that even with infrared telescopes able to detect brown dwarfs as far away as 10 light years, failed to find Nemesis. It is most likely that Nemesis does not exist. Of course, that is if you believe in what NASA tells you. However, not finding any proof of Nibiru nor Nemesis does not mean they do not exist. Plus, how do you know if you were told the truth? What do you think the government should do if they think the world will end tomorrow? Obviously, telling you will not be on the top of the list. They will build a bunker and plan shelters for people that may survive the doomsday Earth. And to avoid chaos, it is wise not to share the doomsday news with anyone. Plus, who can know for certain what will happen, right? If you think the government will always do the right thing, let me tell you what Nostradamus thought about that. In Quatrain 227, quote, "The divine word will be struck from the sky, one who cannot proceed any further. The secret closed up with the revelation, such that they will march over and ahead." If you have any doubts about Nostradamus' prophecies, check out some of my Nostradamus videos. When I compared his quatrains with historical events, I was shocked to find the unbelievable details revealed. Check out any of my videos and you will be surprised. This quatrain is grouped with 20 other doomsday quatrains in the second part of the Book of Prophecy, which I call the Doomsday Century. This quatrain seems to indicate that our government would get warnings from the sky, which can be divine, or from aliens. The message warns us, do not proceed. It is a secret that will be kept from most of us, but the warnings were probably ignored, as the last sentence stated, quote, "such that they will march over and ahead." Whatever the secret may be, it will be ignored, and we, mankind, will eventually face the consequences. So if Nemesis does not exist and Nibiru is only a theory, why should we waste any more time talking about it? Actually, I think Nibiru does exist. It may be different from the mythical planet where Anunnaki reside, but it is there. Let me show you the proof about Nibiru's existence. Consider this. If you think the theory about Nibiru's 3,600-year orbit around the sun is crazy, did you know Mars orbits the sun every 687 days, but is already considered outside the Goldilocks zone that could harbor lives? What is the chance of life on Nibiru if Nibiru does exist? Plus, what is the chance of having a planet having a 3,600-year orbit? The good old days when textbooks told you everything you needed to know is long gone. Now the more we know we don't know. For example, when you search on the planet Eris, what you see is that it is called the most massive and second largest dwarf planet known in the solar system. The word known means that we really don't know what we're talking about. Pluto and Eris both are known dwarf planets, and Tino, the so-called trans-Neptunian objects, those are minor planets with highly elliptical orbits. And if you search Wikipedia for trans-Neptunian object, a section called Putative Trans-Neptunian Objects of Planetary Size will jump out at you. It states, the existence of trans-Neptunian rock ice bodies of planetary size, ranging from less than Earth mass up to a brown dwarf, has been often postulated for different theoretical reasons to explain several observed or speculated features of the Kuiper belt or the Oort cloud. It was recently proposed to use ranging data from the New Horizons spacecraft to constrain the position of such a hypothesized body. Putative means generally considered or reputed to be. Doesn't this sound like an endorsement from Wikipedia? I guess Nibiru is not all BS after all. Another reason I believe planet Nibiru is real is based on what scientists found in 2003. Sedna is a red dwarf planet 86 astronomical units away from the Sun, which is about 3 times as far as Neptune. Its discovery helped push poor Pluto off the planetary lineup. But what is important to know is its crazy orbit. Its aphelion, which is the closest distance from the Sun, is 76 AU, but its perihelion is 936 AU, and it takes 11,400 years to complete an orbit. During its 11,400 year journey around the Sun, we can only get a glance when it is near us. So, can you imagine how many more planets we have not seen? Can you imagine how big the others may be? Sedna's discovery proves Nibiru is not a myth. And then we found in 2014 FE72. It is another trans-Neptunian object.